Federal government intensifies deployment of technology to block leakages, reduce personnel cost. Debt Management Office says efforts to increase revenue could reduce debt service by 20%. Plus, oil steady as market eyes Middle East tensions, higher U.S. crude stockpiles, and the program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Good to have you join us at this time, and as we take you through details of happenings in the world of business, we start by telling you that the federal government has commenced the implementation of the integrated personnel and payroll information system in the year 2007 with a view to attaining transparency, accuracy, safety and reliability in the management of personnel records, while also curtailing avoidable excesses in personnel costs. And driven by this quest to curb ghost workers syndrome and block leakages through personnel costs, a statement has been issued as to the fact that leveraging on technology, the office has reopened the verification portal for verification of pensioners to carry out online updates of their records, and having committed substantial financial and human resource over a period of 7 years to verify the records, all civil servants on the IPPIS platform, says the office has left no option than to suspend the salaries of those who failed to participate in the exercise with effect from September 2003. Consequent upon this, some of the erring officers besieged the office and given the last opportunity to comply. The exercise is opened for October 3rd, and it is going to close in the same month on the 27th. Now, with the federal government exploring digital economy to creating more jobs for the teeming youth, experts in the information and communications technology have called on the government to ensure adequate protection for local businesses. Larry Gbeleyi reports that experts express this view as they examine the gains of digital economy.
Before, the only way you could watch this interview is to have a TV, right? But today you can upload this video on YouTube and people would watch it, right? Now you uploading it on YouTube, you start having numbers of followers, right? The more followers you have, the more you might be able to generate some income, right? So that is, digital economy.
It will expand the opportunity of exports, and in which Nigeria will be in line as a country like US, Indians, who are actually taking the opportunity of digital economy to move their youth forward.
So what you notice is that more employment is created because of the ease of doing business.
General of the Debt Management Office, which is DMO Patience Onia, stated that the federal government's efforts to enhance revenue are expected to cut its debt service ratio by 20% in the medium term. Onia said in an interview with Bloomberg that the measures being taken to boost revenue could reduce the ratio to as much as 20% over the coming 4 years. However, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu seeks to increase the country's revenue output to an appreciable 18% of GDP in the coming years. Already, he has set up a fiscal policy and tax committee aimed at streamlining the revenue collection process to make it more effective. And we understand that that committee has submitted its first report 2 days ago. We're looking forward to implementations. And moving on, next is an interview with the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform, Taiwo Oyedele, who spoke on some of the far-reaching tax and fiscal policy reforms recommended by the committee for consideration and approval. Here's an excerpt of that exclusive interview as conducted by our business correspondent, Musa Abubakar.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. So the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee was set up by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to help us as a country look at our fiscal system, revenue management, financial management, public financial management, I should say, quality of spending, borrowing, efficiency and debt management, and so on and so forth. So the work of the committee is divided into milestones. The first phase 1, is quick wins within 30 days. The second phase is critical reforms within 6 months. Okay. And then phase 3 is 1 year for implementation. And all these 3 phases go hand in hand. So what happened was we submitted our official report to Mr. President. And some of the highlights of the recommendations are measures to address the impact of fuel subsidy. For example, we are recommending that the amount of salary that is exempted from personal income tax should be increased so that we do not tax poverty. We are also recommending that private sector employers who increase the salaries of their low-income earners, who provide transportation or transport subsidy, or who employ more people at this time should be given some additional tax deductions. We also have recommendations regarding suspension of VAT on diesel, which is being implemented already, along with CNG and then CNG conversion, because people are trying to now move from fossil fuel of petrol to a cleaner fossil of gas. So we also have recommendations around government efficiency. We are saying that if you have 48 ministers, it does not mean that you have to have 48 ministries. And in some countries, ministers are even called secretaries. So if what you need a function for procurement, you need a function for admin, you need a function for finance or treasury, why can't government just harmonize all of those functions and provide them centrally to different organs of government? We also have recommendations to do with exchange rate stability. Okay. Like we know, the Naira has not been behaving well against the dollars in particular in the parallel market, and that's affecting inflation and other economic activities. We also have recommendations to help improve the opportunities for young Nigerians to find employment within the digital economy, so that Nigerians don't have to leave Nigeria before they can earn dollars. They can be here and be working for a global organization across global outsourcing, process outsourcing, shared services. We can have headquarters locations in Nigeria, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the highlights of our recommendations in that report. Yes, so waivers and incentives, that's always an interesting conversation. Nigeria's tax expenditure, in other words, the amount we are giving away by way of waivers and incentives is very significant, average of about 6 trillion naira annually, given that our tax revenue as a whole is actually very small. So some of these incentives, we believe that they are no longer fit for purpose. They were designed for a different world that no longer exists today. While we are not getting rid of incentives completely, we want to do a lot of reviews One, to see the ones that we don't need anymore so we can get rid of them. The ones that we need, based on evidence, data, and the policy direction of the government, we'll design them in a way that they are transparent and they drive the right behavior. And more importantly, they are measured in terms of the impact, both quantitative and qualitative impact. And where necessary, maybe even a proposal to get the appropriation by the National Assembly, because we're really just spending government money when we give away this tax revenue by way of waivers and incentive. But that work will not be completed in our phase one. Phase one is quick wins. So that is something we intend to do in the phase two of our work, which is critical reform. And that's the state where we are now, looking at rewriting the tax laws in Nigeria, but also looking at how do we rationalize incentives to make sure that from a cost-benefit analysis point of view, for every ₦1 that we give away, the benefit to the economy has to be more than ₦1. So the answer is yes. So our recommendations will be implemented using a combination of executive orders. Some of them will be presidential executive orders. We also have a couple of them that will be ministerial executive order, because based on the law, we ask ourselves, how do you give life to this proposal? So if the answer is that the president needs to sign an order, then we are preparing a presidential order. If the answer is that the finance minister needs to approve something by way of an order gazetted, we are preparing that. We're also working on an emergency economic intervention bill. This bill will go to the National Assembly. We already have socialized it with the Senate. We'll discuss with the House of Representatives. Okay. And this bill is going to amend a number of laws, such that, for example, Nigerians who are in Nigeria want to find jobs within the international global value system. There's currently an impediment in the tax law that makes it very difficult. We're going to remove that. And that provision will be in the emergency economic intervention bill. So we also have some of the interventions will be done by FRS circulars. We are speaking to the central bank. The central bank is autonomous. They make their own decisions. But some of the things we are trying to do require collaboration and coordination with them. So we also expect that the central bank will be issuing some circulars and guidelines as well. So the next thing is to start implementing the recommendations that have been approved. And then as soon as we begin the implementation, which is now, we also try and measure the impact. We're still also engaging with many stakeholders, and as well as we are moving to phase two of our engagement, which is the critical reforms. And like I said before, we are rewriting the tax laws. We're looking at what is the fiscal governance framework for Nigeria. We are trying to review our national tax policy, because we do not want to tax poor people. We do not want to tax, production and investment and capital. We rather tax consumption and returns on investment. Like Mr. President puts it, we do not want to tax seed, we want to tax fruits. So these next stages also is a stage where we're going to have significant public consultation and stakeholder engagement. We have already published in various newspapers. We have it on our website, which is fiscalreforms.ng. The various stakeholder groups that we want to engage with, and that includes Nigerians living with disabilities, it includes Nigerians, the diaspora, it includes traders, artisans, all the way to multinationals and CEOs. So this set of engagements are also now currently ongoing. So those are some of the next steps for our project. Now we expect the impact to start immediately. So some of the recommendations that we made, for example, the FRS was implemented yesterday. They had introduced a module or a way within the tax promise to allow taxpayers to pay part of their liabilities instead of insisting that they have to pay the full amount. I understand that that was implemented yesterday. So you're going to be seeing series of implementation as we go along, but in terms of the impact, Nigerians are excited to see the impact coming through in the next, couple of weeks, all the way to end of the year, and of course next year and beyond.
Well, that was a conversation with Taiwo Oyedele, and it's heartwarming to know that some of these recommendations have started seeing the implementation already. And moving on, gold rises as Middle East conflict dominates sentiment. Let's see how other commodities are traded in the global market. Now, the third local content roundtable in Abuja is calling for intentional action by African countries in local content development in the oil and gas sector. Boserable reports that with delegations from 26 African countries represented at the roundtable, the advocacy is geared towards improving indigenous participation and value effectiveness from hydrocarbons and mineral resources.
Despite the billions that our countries have made from oil and gas, we are still dependent on foreign investment to do oil and gas projects in Africa.
The importance of funding to local content development cannot be overemphasized, especially as local content is best implemented on the back of major oil and gas projects which requires funding.
All member countries need to ensure a future where Africa is also driving the technological advancement and innovation that addresses our peculiar challenges.
And we believe that our responsibility as African oil producing countries is to exploit the oil and gas resources for the benefit of our citizens, business community, and governments of our respective countries.
But all the groundwork is already in place for a 3-year intervention, $750 million, to work on business climate reforms across every state of the country. What that means is that land reform, access to fiber optics processes, regulatory interventions, judicial processes, small claims courts, these are the issues that businesses have been clamoring about for years, payment of taxes. And so with this intervention, there's a holistic pathway to delivering those reforms, trackable and empirically for Nigerian businesses.
Well, that was a special advisor to the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, Dr. Jumoke Oduwale, talking about obstacles being removed alongside growing businesses in Nigeria. And moving on, oil prices were little changed on Thursday as the market weighed mixed drivers, eyeing tensions in the Middle East while digesting a rise in U.S. crude stockpiles. Brent crude futures dipped 3 cents to $90.10 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures eased 3 cents at $85.36 a barrel. And before we get to know how the market will look like today, yesterday equities closed on the negative, recording a 0.02% decline as 329.7 million shares valued at $4.420 billion exchanged hands in 5,998 deals. The current market capitalization is 36.9 trillion naira. Fidelity Bank led with 50.3 million shares valued at 411.7 million, followed by Access Corporation and Chams. Now European stocks open lower. Standard Chartered plunges on profit miss. ECB set to hold rates. Global stock fell this Thursday. Details with Neka Oko. Neka, can you give us much more details of what is happening in early morning trade?
Thank you, Benny. Global stocks fell this Thursday as a number of high-profile corporate earnings misses fueled concerns about strength of the economy and drained sentiment toward riskier assets. Asia-Pacific markets saw a broad sell-off, with Japan and South Korea benchmark indices leading losses in the region, while Australian stocks closed at a low not seen in over a year. Now, Japan's Nikkei 225 fell 2.14%. The Hang Seng Index also dropped 0.39%, while the Shanghai Composite bucked the trend and rose 0.48%. European stock markets opened sharply lower Thursday as attention remains on third quarter earnings and government bond yields. Germany's DAX was down 1.42%, UK FTSE 0.71% down, and the French CAC depreciated by 1.18%. In the U.S., the Nasdaq 100 futures slipped in early morning trading Thursday following a sharp sell-off in the previous session. The index dropped over 1%. S&P 500 also depreciated by 0.81%, and the Nasdaq Composite is down by 1.41%. Now, African markets also opened in negative territory, tracking global sentiments. Already, the JSE Africa Top 40 is down by 0.65%. Namibia's overall index is marginally negative, while figures are still being expected from other stocks. And that's Global Market Review for this morning. It's back to Benny.
Thank you, Neka, for that update. And at this point, we end this edition of Business Experts. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on NTA's channel. Business Experts returns Friday at 3 p.m. Keep a date with us.